All right, I want to start with this presentation is for you. So please try to be as distraction free as possible for the next 25, 30 minutes. Value your learning by resisting that urge to open and look at another browser, your email, or your phone. Take a break from the rush of adrenaline you get when you see an email or social media notification. And take this time to learn and process everything that you're about to hear. So, really quickly, on a scale of 1 to 10, with 1 being you really don't have a clue or much knowledge, and 10 being maybe you could write a few pages on it. When I say metaverse or the metaverse or digital twin technology, yes, Brent, I can see through your webcam. But when I say metaverse or digital twin technology, on a scale of 1 to 10, how confident are you in your understanding of those two terms? I just want to gauge the audience right now so I know how slowly or quickly to go through the first portion of my presentation. So if you could put in the chat, where are you at on that 1 to 10? Okay, 4s, 5s, 3s, 7s, 7 on the metaverse, 2, 5-ish. Okay, awesome. Thank you. That's really going to help me in my base understanding of where you are all at right now at this moment with these two. All right. And we'll open up this one, get rid of that. I won't be able to see the chat right away, but that's okay. So why am I here? Why am I doing what I'm doing right now? Well, when I was 10 years old, I got my first computer, a Tandy TRS-80 color computer, and I was hooked. I could make tiny little applications and programs, bleeps and bloops. I could make a blue square. And I was in control of the technology. I loved playing with digital things my whole life because I feel that I do better working with computers than most people. If a program or a computer doesn't do what I want it to do, then that's my fault and I can fix it. And that's why I'm here to talk about the experience I've gone through in the last year. And so who is this presentation for? Well, it's for anyone who might be a little bit scared or a little bit curious about the future of work. And the future of work is not a new thing. The future is always with us. We've been in the future of work from the dawn of men and women and human life. But we're all at different points on what I call the technology knowledge sphere. It's colored like a spectrum because we are all at different stages in our understanding, use, and acceptance of technology. And I position it as a sphere because I think a little bit more of the internet or a lot more of the internet needs to be thought about in a 3D or three-dimensional aspect. This is the working world of yesterday, a world we are moving away from, and we've been moving away from this for some time. One made up of 2D website builders, mice, and 2D maps, and work environments that used to reward loyalty and authority. So what is all of this being replaced with? Well, today and in the very near future, grit will be a sought after skill, and attending meetings in a virtual reality headset will be a job requirement. In fact, today it is a job requirement, and I'll show you where and how. And adaptability will be the key to a successful team. And I know there's a lot of technical people out there right now that have been using these tools and probably promoting them for a very long time, longer than me. And it's a hard sell, but I think COVID has really shined a light onto the new tools that we need to get on top of in Canada because we are behind right now compared to a lot of the world. If you ask 10 people to define the metaverse, we would probably get 10 different answers. But I think it's worthwhile that we get some sort of consensus so we have a framework for this presentation. Meta, it means beyond. And verse is kind of like the universe, it's all around us. So we're in the metaverse, we're going beyond where we are today. Fundamentally, it's a future iteration of the internet or the World Wide Web that is three-dimensional. It incorporates massive amounts of data that is displayed as information in a way we can interact with it. It's about using the Internet of Things, 3D modeling, and using predictions to drive how we see our future and our current version of our world. Right now, we can access our reality in these four main ways. 3D and augmented reality and mixed reality are really the two areas that I focus on, and they are becoming more and more normal ways to access our realities. Our current experience with the web is very closed and divided. And by that, I mean every company that you see on this slide, every app requires its own separate login, password, its own security, its own database. And when you look at all of these tools, maybe you use the same password to access all of them, but really, how many passwords do you need to access all of this? What if we had one digital identity that enabled us to access all of this all the time with one login in an immersive space? Today, imagine being on vacation and having to find a place to stay. You roll up into a town maybe you weren't expecting to be in. You need a place to stay for the night. What are your options? Where do you go to find somewhere to stay? Sure, Expedia is one tool that helps you search through dozens of hotels, but hotels are not your only option anymore. What if you could make one verbal request and you could get results from all of these sources because they're all open and connected? What if every hotel, Airbnb, and vacation rental was available to be searched through one request? And what if you could view a 3D model of the exact room or space that was available to stay in before you even made a purchase? This capability is being built, and it's known as digital twin technology, and it serves for a large basis of what the metaverse can be. So a digital twin is a digital or virtual model of a real world object that replicates its performance. You can see and hear instant data about that object. And in the case of the jet engine here, you can watch a digital presentation of how the real world object is performing. Digital twin technology is advancing quickly in a lot of sectors, and it's a technology that's going to play a large part in many more as we move forward. And so a really cool example that I came across for digital twin technology is the United Nations is supporting the development of a digital twin ocean. So data captured through analog and digital sensors, combined with geographical information, geospatial information, video, audio, and different types of reports, is the currency of the digital twin ocean. How it is collected, transmitted, aggregated, shared, and governed across entities, nations, and organizations is a massive challenge. But in the future, we will have a digital representation of the ocean in a three-dimensional, very immersive perspective, where we will be able to see, hear, and interact with a lot of the information that's coming from it. So a real life example, maybe one that we can hopefully relate to a little bit more, is virtual Singapore. Even cities are getting their own digital twin right now. Virtual Singapore will be the country's authoritative platform for simulations that will do virtual tests in regards to urban planning, even disaster management, mitigation, and response. City staff and stakeholders can enter virtual Singapore and grab data on any of the 3D assets in the virtual world. This screenshot is of an apartment building. It's a single apartment is selected, and I don't know if you can see the little blurb there, but it's giving the address, what level it's on. It says that the deck or the patio is made out of concrete. It gives some building material information. So, 911 operators could realistically pop into here, click on that apartment, and get data that they could feed to the response or fire rescue people or police en route, more data than they ever would have been given before. And right now in virtual Singapore, something I think is really cool is it calculates the percentage of sunshine and shadow per building based on the actual position of the sun. So when you go into virtual Singapore and you look out at the landscape and the buildings, you're getting an exact replica of how it looks in the real world. Very soon, seeing traffic on Google Maps and on 2D photos, seeing traffic on Google Maps in a 2D map, and going onto realtor.com to view homes for sale is going to be considered a very old technology. You're going to have this type of capability. So this is the metaverse, a hub, like an airport. Always on, you turn on your device, regardless of what the device is, and you're in this hub. You can go anywhere from here. If your organization wants to add on to the worlds that people can travel to, it's just like bolting on a Lego block. It's very interoperable. It connects right away. Everything works together under one standard. And once you go into the hub, your identity tells the system who you are, how much money you have, where your money is. Maybe you touch a world, it takes your money to enter, and you're teleported there. So you just stroll on into the world you want. That is, for this presentation, the metaverse. So now that we have a basic framework for the metaverse, let's move to what we are doing in the disaster and emergency management community in Canada. I'll be showing a few videos during this portion of my talk because seeing screenshots is not going to cut it. I want to give you a sense of the platform. The platform that we're using for this presentation is called Verbella. It's still a desktop-based software that you have to download, so it is not the metaverse, but it is what I'll call, for lack of a better term, a type of metaverse environment. So I opted not to turn on my sound, but that's okay because I didn't want to get any crazy feedback, but I will play this quick video and do a little bit of a talk through it, unless you are you're going to get audio. So pause this. Can you just let me know in the chat if you're getting audio or not, and I won't talk through it. Not really. Okay. Yep. So no audio. That's okay. So this video gives you a sense of, the avatar is being walked around the environment with your keyboard arrows. The pointer is being controlled by my mouse. And right here, there's a web screen that you can see. You can click on it to magnify it. I just hit my space bar to unlock my head and rotate my head around so I can look around the environment. It's really like a PC game. I call it the LinkedIn of 3D games. It's very professional. It's meant for people who work in offices there. I'm doing my little dance, and so the basis for the story I'm about to tell you. So I've been working with leaders across Canada to help them understand how immersive technology, 3D technology, is available to help augment their operations. All of these groups, plus some others that I'll show you in a minute, including Ron there, Ron is retired fire chief from Medicine Hat, have experienced metaverse-like working conditions, and the Salvation Army is leading the way. And it all started with this. And video was not going to cut it. I think it's really neat that the Cyber Summit's theme this year is the new normal, which comes from American inventor Henry A. Wisewood, who following World War I said, "To consider the problems before us, we must divide our epic into 3 periods: the war, the transition, and that of the new normal." The Halifax explosion, which was during World War I, sparked the Salvation Army's Emergency Disaster Services program and a new normal for so many. And COVID-19, a war on a virus, brought the Salvation Army to another new normal, one where working and training takes place in a digital 3D environment. So this is my avatar in Perron Goodyear's office. Perron is the director for the Salvation Army Emergency Disaster Services Canada and Bermuda team. He has a photo of himself in his office, so there's no mistaking that he's an actual person. Perron is the champion of virtual technology at the Salvation Army and is building his program for the future. At this point in time, like I said earlier, the hub still requires a separate software, a login, its own password, and its own security. But once you're in, the people and the organizations in the hub are in one space, and they have open access to all of the office's information and data in the hub. So you can think of each office as a website. Most owners have information and branding about their organization or program. And often you can pop in and you'll see them sitting in their office, and you can just strike up a water cooler-like conversation. So for example, often I will leave the platform up on one of my monitors. My avatar will be sitting there. I'll hear a little ding on my speaker, which tells me someone's entered the space. And often we'll just meet up and chat. So even though we're in a virtual setting, it does not mean we have to stop using video or other technology. We use video in this space to help create connection. Instructors will introduce themselves, or we will have students go on video to show their home setup, which helps to connect in this virtual environment. And I'll just show you what that looks like quickly here. My avatar head looks a little funny because I've actually Halloween mask on. It's a skull, so the back of my head looks a little strange. But here you'll kind of just see me testing out the web screens and how you can zoom in and zoom out. But here's the video piece. In the environment, you can hear me talking. That's me at my desk. I'm demonstrating how I do some facilitation in the virtual space. So when you're an avatar and sitting at a desk, this is what it looks like. Students can zoom in and see me at my desk, and I'll even do some facilitation on the whiteboard just to kind of mix things up and create a live element to courses that we provide. So just one way that we are incorporating other technologies into this, because I want to point out that there is no one type of technology that is the answer. We need to create an interoperable environment where many technologies integrate with one another, and that's what I'm showing there. Here's a really fun example to show how I use a metaverse. The British Columbia Emergency Management Program ran a contest last year to take a selfie on high ground and to submit it. So instead of going out to the River Valley Bank or to a cliff in Edmonton to take a picture, I did it in a 3D environment. And again, there's some music that plays, not missing anything really. It shows this concept of my avatar in the space, in the metaverse. I could walk up to this digital, touch it with my hand, and like I'm teleported to their contest website, I'd be teleported to a 3D environment where I could meet with staff or maybe find information or get tools and resources. So here I am walking up to the high ground. I took this selfie of my avatar, submitted it. Unfortunately, I did not win, but example there of how we're using the virtual world to interoperate with physical things. So Ron, who I showed you in a few slides back, someone decided to wallpaper his office with sticky notes. Took a long time to clean that up, but that's one way we have fun. Last winter, we trained a team of Parks Canada staff on the incident command system. The incident command system is a system for organizing people and resources during emergencies and disasters. It was a 14-hour course held over 2 days with PowerPoint, YouTube videos, and breakout sessions. The team enjoyed it so much, a month later, we held a half-day discussion-based exercise for a wildfire in a national park. We went over the procedures to evacuate the front country campsites and developed a model for how the team would organize itself to ensure the best possible evacuation. Again, these posted notes are feedback from the training course that was held from within this environment. The students really liked it. If you're able to read that, there's some mention of some audio bugs and little things like that, but overall the feedback was really good and just a sign of who's coming back. Something else that we did was every year in Canada, the first week of May is Emergency Preparedness Week. Normally, organizations and cities across Canada will host in-person events to highlight emergency preparedness. But last year, of course, they were canceled. So we did an open house in our virtual hub. And all of these organizations participated. They all were provided with a 3D office. They had staff and volunteers on board. Each of them set up their 3D office as a booth. And they held information and presentation sessions in their offices and the main training rooms. Visitors could come into the hub, walk around, visit each office, and speak with reps, network. And 2022 is now being planned, so we're hoping to make it bigger and better. We had about 65 visitors come in for this event, which was pretty good considering the process to get the software installed on someone's computer and get them onboarded. Very successful, and we're doing it again. So I've talked a lot about all of these great things, but there's another side to this technology that I've not addressed, and I did that on purpose because this presentation was about seeing the technology in action. But I do want to acknowledge some of the risks. I can tell you firsthand, encountering a virtual reality troll is way worse than a social media troll. I've witnessed cases where someone has navigated their avatar up to someone and just shouted profanity at them. It does happen. Those things will continue. Privacy, confidentiality, being in a virtual world for way too long are all issues we need to address through policy, procedures, security, better technology, privacy. But the bad people are always going to be ahead of the good for the most part. So we need to ask the right questions about the impacts of this technology on people at work and at home. We need to be careful, but let's not be paranoid. So great. We onboarded 20 organizations to use this technology and nearly 150 people. That's all great, but what does it really take to start the transition to being a more metaverse friendly organization? Well, as any good designer knows, we need to start with people and the understanding that we are all nervous about the future and the uncertainty that lays ahead. COVID-19 caught us all off guard, even the most prepared governments and organizations. Moving our organizations from the office to video conferencing was a huge leap for so many. And so many did not have the built-in support to help them move, to help those who are less confident navigating the change. How we move towards the next iteration of work does not have to be scary or uncertain. The metaverse and digital twin technology and virtual reality is useless without people who can successfully and confidently use it. This is why I use a accredited coach approach to transitioning others into the future. Coaching requires empathy, listening, and an understanding of where the person is at so we can figure out the right path for their success. It also helps with understanding where the organization as a culture is in the adoption of technology and for figuring out a path for success for that organization. Empathy is support, and we all need bridges. A bridge allows us to avoid the scary leap that is ahead of us. That was my role for Peron and the Salvation Army team and so many others. In fact, that bridge works so well, the Salvation Army has acquired the hub from Hazardscape, and they are moving more staff and stakeholders into the environment. They've even added the hub into the position description of a few jobs they've posted, and these new staff are expected to design content and training to work in metaverse-like conditions. When we look at the future of work and the skills and tools that we need to be ready for it, how are you feeling? Do you feel scared, hopeful, motivated, excited, tired, exhausted, curious? Whatever you are feeling, there is support out there. No one has to leap into the future alone. So regardless of where you are on the technology knowledge sphere, just get support. Start now if you've not already. COVID has kickstarted us down a path of everyone adopting this technology under a little bit more positive light. I don't want to lose that momentum. And as you may have heard in this morning's keynote, I sincerely believe COVID is a type of preparedness activity so we can better manage crisis as a planet, as organizations, and as individuals. Because as someone who has led teams and organizations through some of the worst disasters in Canada's history, I can say without a doubt, you and your organization will experience another major disruption that will require you to adapt. So let's keep adapting and keep being ready. Arm yourselves with knowledge and the best available data and use it to keep moving forward into the future. We are all still a long way from the metaverse, but it's coming, and there's a lot of hype that we need to weed through. So I leave you with that message, because even though we are a ways away from the metaverse, there are a lot of metaverse-like worlds being built. The groundwork for making an open, interoperable, secure, and private digital space is underway. It's only a matter of time before we are all expected to interact in a more immersive digital reality. So thank you very much for your time. You may check your social media now if you're just really feeling that urge to open up your phone or your email. But I am happy to engage in the Q&A or some comments here if you've got a bit of time. And if you want to put in the chat, you know, where are you on that scale of 1 to 10? Did you bump up from a 4 or 5 to maybe a 6 or a 7? And my only call to action is really that you reach out. I'm willing to talk to anyone who wants to talk about how we navigated the organizational, human resources, and policy aspect for the Salvation Army. Contact me anytime. Happy to talk.
Perfect.
And thanks, Ibera, for inviting me to talk about the this experience with all these groups. It was a great year, and I'm happy to share it.
Well, thank you so much for joining us. And I do see we have a couple questions in the Q&A. So if you want, I can just read them out to you and you can answer.
Yeah, sure.
All right. So Ron is asking, what is plan B for when connectivity does not support continuous connection? Can you work offline if necessary and catch up when you reconnect?
Absolutely. They're coming from the disaster and emergency management world, we have a plan B, C, and D. In fact, and I know the Salvation Army does. That's why they are situated to be in the physical space and the real space. For them, the virtual digital metaverse is about preparedness. So doing a lot of what needs to be done up front without the cost of always getting together. They're still going to hold physical events and do things. But I was at the government of Alberta working in the Provincial Operations Center when our entire, it's called the ABD LAN. It's a local area network technology or software for managing disaster tasks and resources. I was there when it went down. All of the government of Alberta was on it. That's how we were managing a disaster. And it went down. So we reverted to whiteboards and sticky notes. Even that didn't go very well, but that was the plan B. So absolutely, organizations have to have a plan A, B, C, and D. That's built into the risk assessments and business continuity. But that is definitely a discussion that we have all the time.
Yeah, it sounds very similar to event planning. We had
100%.
An emergency plan for when things went down. Ron also asked if you could comment on the difference, if any, between the metaverse and the Omniverse. Is the terminology just continuing to evolve?
Yeah, if I don't have a clear 100% understanding of the Omniverse, I think I have heard of it before. I don't know if you can throw in a quick definition of what Omniverse is for me, just so I'm clear on it. And I can get back to that really quick.
Yeah, I wish I could offer one too, but I hear Omni, I think everything.
Yeah, exactly. It could be one of those things. Omniverse seems to be the NVIDIA Pro. Oh, yeah. So they're building again. It's like a virtual 3D. I'm going to say there's probably not a lot of difference. I think Omniverse was really the first iteration of Metaverse. And it's just, everyone's kind of kicked around these different words and phrases, and Metaverse seems to be where people are landing on, if that's my correct interpretation of it.
Can you talk more about interoperability in the context of the metaverse? How do you go from walled gardens to more open and being interconnected?
Yeah, that's a great question, especially when you have large corporations out there that are really just going full steam ahead and developing their own walled garden regardless. I think with a mindset that people will just join in. Right now, I'm part of a Discord group that is called the Open Metaverse Interoperability Working Group. It's really just about getting the most organizations together, the most practitioners together, and with academics and and IT people and programmers and coders all in one giant global discussion. So, either you'll see this sort of open, interoperable idea concept move forward because thousands of organizations have committed to it and are doing it, and that's getting a general large population into it. That's one way, but I think government's going to have to step in at some point and decide whether or not this deserves that discussion at a regulated table. I know I've heard of it before, and a friend of mine just passed me an article today about how Seoul, South Korea, is really working to make Seoul a metaverse. And there's a lot of funding going to developers in South Korea to kind of develop this technology. That's a great example. Same with virtual Singapore, a great example of where government has taken the lead and said, we want this to be open, transparent for the future. We're going to regulate it and make it so. That's one other way I see it happening.
I think we
Which
have.
I don't necessarily agree with more government, but I think there has to be a framework set up by them to keep everyone honest.
Oh yeah, I agree. I can't see it happening any other way. I think we have time for one more question.
Sure.
So Tristan raised a really good point. He says isolation is a big problem for remote workers and learners. Opportunities to chat and socialize are gone for them. Have you seen benefits for this side of the school work experience through the metaverse?
Yeah, I have seen benefits. So going back to the Parks Canada example, in the winter months, a lot of the Parks Canada staff go back to their home province, and then in the summer they all move to where the national park is that they're working. So they don't have a lot of great opportunity to train and work together in the off season. We were able to bring Parks Canada staff from across Canada to start work early on some of their evacuation planning. And that was one benefit for them where they could kind of use a different type of platform, have some fun, come together, do some team building, do some training. Same with the Salvation Army. It's allowed the team to have these just conversations. Peron and I have open office hours where people know we are there, open and ready for a discussion, and people can just walk in and chat with us. So those are some of the benefits. I 100% believe conferences like the Cyber Summit are going to be critical, and other in-person conferences are going to be critical for those in-person fireside chats, connection building. I think we're just going to see a more strategic use of the in-person and the digital to kind of bring this whole nice umbrella suite of tools that we can use to work and reallocate costs and budget so it can become a little bit less taxing for people that have to travel, spend money, and things like that. That's, I think, where we need to go.
Well, I can't wait until the in-person conferences, but I think we recognize that we're not done with these virtual ones. So certainly finding that
No,
kind of hybrid aspect will be important going
100%.
forward.